Ding. Hi guys, good evening. This is Dr. Jenny Yusuf, physical therapist and doctor of physical therapy, creator and founder of Balance and Fall Support Group in Aging Adults, and the vice chair of Global Health in Aging Adults in the Academy of Physical Therapy Association Special Interest Group. So I'm here right now for our Thanks God It's Thursday, another innovator, entrepreneur, physical therapist, academician that we interviewed every Thursday for our Balance and Fall support group. So we have Shane Haas. He's from Texas and he is a physical therapist and mechanical engineer. He is practicing more than 20 years. He is the CEO and founder of ADL Balance Trainers and he invented and innovated the Balance Trainer. We will learn more about it. So Shane and his wife Lee is the founder and co-founder of the ADL Balance, and we will going to learn more about it. This is amazing tools that they provided. They even have a wonderful book that we can give aways or share to our clients. That way they can practice more on balance training and prevent falls, right? So welcome, Shane. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, Jenny, thank you for having me. I just want to make one correction for all my engineer friends out there. My engineering degree is industrial engineering. So
Okay.
mechanical engineering and then electrical engineering, those guys are really, really talented in math. I'm just sort of talented in math. So I went industrial engineering.
So industrial engineering. Okay, my brother-in-law is a mechanical engineer and my other colleagues are computer engineers. So you're industrial. I
Yeah.
think it's my first time to meet an industrial engineering. Thank you
Well,
so much.
there's a spot in industrial engineering that ties a lot into therapy, and that's ergonomics. So when I was looking at going back to school there, the school I chose, Texas Tech, guns up, they had a great program in ergonomics. So that was how I went from healthcare into engineering.
Yeah, and that's very important too, Shane, when you speak about ergonomics, that's really vital for us healthcares. And also that's another side hustle that they can do, just plain
Sure.
ergonomics as a consultant. Good, you point
One
on
thing
that.
that ties into balance and falls is industrial engineers are really interested in workplace safety. And
Yes.
one aspect of safety are slips, trips, and falls. So when I went to
Mm-hmm.
look at the school there at Texas Tech, they had a gate lab and they had a big turnstile where they had somebody in a suspension harness and they would switch out the floor. So the person couldn't see the floor. They would step on it and heel strike. That foot would just start sliding. So they were looking at different coefficients of friction, floor surfaces, and I'm looking at it from a PT standpoint, like, oh my gosh, that person, they're sliding, they're going to fall, but of course the harness catches them. But that showed me how closely our fields are kind of intertwined in that area of ergonomics.
Wow, that's really interesting. And then very seldom that a physical therapist will go engineering, right? So that's really, at least it intertwine in each other. And then that's the reason why you're able to innovate lots of tools in this ADL balance. So can you tell us more your route? So from a plain physical therapist, how you were inspired of pursuing more in industrial engineering?
Sure. In West Texas, I had an opportunity to start teaching some with Texas Tech. And usually when you're a clinician, they want you to come in and teach the lab classes and the patient handling or how to use goniometers and that type of thing. So as I started doing that, I enjoyed it and they liked me. So they said, well, if you want to stay with us, you got to go and get more education. So as I looked at different avenues to get into, that was one that just really jumped out as being something different rather than going back to get something similar to what I already knew. It was nice to branch out and study. I won't say it's totally new, but to study a lot of new information. It was a joy at that time. And I think that kind of segue as I got back into the clinic full time and you started to look at things that you wanted. I think that engineering mindset made it possible to think of things and create and build and logically work your way through all that. And I look back now and you see how the pieces of the puzzle kind of fit together. And that was definitely something that I think made it easier for me to develop things than what it would have been had I not gone through Texas Tech's program.
Yeah, that's really good. So can you tell us more? Maybe not everybody. So we are listening, we are listeners, we have listeners, clinicians, and other clients in the Balance and Fall support group. You have your Facebook group, Balance Pros,
Correct.
right? So and also you're doing your ADL. Can you tell us about the book that you produce, and also always showing, do you have a wonderful blog as well in your website? Can you tell us more on your different programs and how you
Sure.
come up with different innovations?
Well, I think it all stems from if you're in a clinic and you have 5 or 10 therapists around you working, you're always kind of looking and seeing what other people are doing. And as you see exercises that you want to try, then you'll wait maybe an hour or two or to the next day, and then you'll try it out with one of your own patients. From that, I just started to write down ideas of different balance exercises. And balance, I think, more than other areas, there's less we know. We're learning more now. The research is catching up, but there's less that we knew about it even 3-5 years ago. So it seemed like it was still kind of a green field where there was a chance to make a difference, if you will. So that was the purpose of the book, was just to try to organize the thought process around all these different balance exercises. And the book led to teaching a class on it. So there's a day class for balance training, and it's all practical based. So everything, even Balance Pros, the Facebook group, everything is stuff you can watch and put to use immediately. So it's a way to spur some new ideas, and you might watch an exercise and come up with your own way to put a little twist on it and say, okay, maybe you got 90% of the way there through a video or through the book, but then you see a different flavor that you can put into it yourself. So that's really, the book is a collection of the static, dynamic, reactionary, and balance games. Those 4 sections make up the book. And then every exercise in the book is on Balance Pros. I mean, I'm very open with sharing that type of content out there. And then, the Balance Pros, as you work and see more, you just come up with new ways of doing things. So that group's been a nice creative outlet just to share that kind of information around. The blog is still based on balance training. So the blog is taking and say, how does this apply to Parkinson's disease? Or what are my 6 favorite reactionary balance exercises? And you'll kind of put those in and either give them a clinical context to it or just group them together in some way that I think can be helpful for everybody that's out there in the clinics.
Yeah, I really love your exercises, and it's easy to follow. And I like how you incorporate different tools when you want to progress one exercise to another. So I remember your platform, the balance platform, you incorporated different activities like the reaching, as you said, the dynamic balance, and then so that's easy to incorporate for each clinicians. You made it like simple that you can do at home, and then a little bit complex when you have your own clinic. Yeah, so that's really amazing. So how did you like invent, how you think about it, your tools, why you inspired? Because you can be just plain physical therapist, Shane.
Ah,
Yeah, so
um,
you're inspired to keep doing this. So who helped you? Who's your mentors?
my wife's an OT, so she and I talk daily about just how our days have gone. So she's probably my both inspiring and equally a mentor as well. I think at the root of a lot of things is just as you're working with a patient and you're trying to get that outcome that you're searching for, think outside of the box and think of, we every clinic in America has parallel bars, and we have rocker boards and foam. Um, but that's not enough sometimes to get what we want out of a patient. So the kind of that aha moment for the balance trainer was working with a patient in the parallel bars. So a lot of patients have a difficult time as soon as they turn loose of the bars, keeping their balance. They might lose the balance backwards or forwards, or but as you're in there in front of them doing all the touching and facilitation that we do as therapists to get their posture just right, once they got that standing position, then it was like, okay, now what do I do with you? In the parallel bars, they only have those horizontal bars there. We don't have a lot of options of things we can do in there. I wanted platforms. I wanted to be able to adjust the heights of things so I can get them reaching up or reaching down or turning and reaching behind them. And I racked my brain. I just couldn't get it done with the parallel bars. So then as you see the design on the balance trainer, that's exactly what it is. It has the poles that go up and it has 3 rungs on each side. So you can do reaching in all these different directions, which ties back to how we reach in daily life. We're reaching up into cabinets. We're reaching down to feed our pets. We're reaching behind us as we gather ingredients to make meals, or if we're working in the shop and doing these things. But that's just one section of balance. That's all static, like you're standing in one spot. So then you start going, okay, well, we know a lot of risk for falls is when we're in movement and we're walking around. So then you go, okay, how can I use this tool and get some movement in it? And then you say, okay, well, stepping reactions are important to help with falls. So then you create the balance mat, which fits inside the balance trainer. And then there's a great Australian therapist that Clock Yourself. Have you heard of that app,
Yes. Yeah,
Meg?
I interviewed her as well. I'm
Did
about to
you?
tell
Okay.
you that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I put the numbers to go along with her app, and then I use colors a lot. So when she updated her app, she took the colors and put them into her app, which was great because then it lent itself to just a whole explosion of different ways to use colors and numbers to create reactionary movements. But that's kind of how it goes. You are working as you work on a daily basis with patients. You just get to a point where you're like, man, I'm at a stopping point. I need something more here, and then that's where you you create things that aren't out there just yet.
That's true. And I always incorporate the app. I told her when I interviewed her. She told me that I think she coordinate also with you. That's really good that you made it like a uniform, knowing that for people who's doing the app, it will be uniform also on whatever tools you're doing. So we have the same exactly position of the blue, the green, and the yellow,
Right.
right? So that's
Yeah.
really good. And also, we have Erica DeMarch. So the Step Connect. She has also some colors with her rhythm for the foot pads. So she also want to progress that. So I really like the different innovators. So I really salute you guys in doing all these things. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a product that I love, and I don't have any financial interest in it, but I use Meg's app all the time for Clock
Mhm.
Yourself, but I also use
Yes.
Blaze Pods a lot. And if you haven't
Yeah,
heard of
the
a
Blaze
Blaze
pads.
Pod,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
those
really good.
those are great.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. It can be a little bit pricey, but there is like for clinician package, which is only like 6 pieces, and then there is a lot more. The Blaze pads also is being used by Claire McLean. Yeah, she's especially in Parkinson's. That's really
Sure.
nice. And then
Yeah.
I agree with you, Meg. Also, I always use her app, and that's very affordable. That one
Dollar
install.
99.
I got it for free because we posted one time that she told me once in quarterly they do it free. And then Dr. Mindy
Go,
posts it.
everybody that's listening, go buy it. It's $1.99. Meg needs some money too. So dollar nine. Don't wait for the free version. Just go pay for it. It's all right.
And it's not $1.99 now. I think 2.49 when my patient install it. Yeah, I
Uh,
always explain to them it's only once. It's not like every month.
right. It's
Yeah,
still a
so
great value at 249.
exactly, exactly. And then they progress themselves. So that will be like a home exercise program. And then they progress themselves. So I always, that's why I want you to speak with us right now. That way you can explain also about your book, that where we can get it, and also about your balance training. It's a little bit big, but so when they order it for their clinic, because when we have lots of therapists right now wanted to have their own clinic, and then I believe that is a good investment if you want to have a clinic, because you cannot bring your ADL bands. I'm a home health, so I can bring
Yeah,
one to my
that'd be tough
patients.
to carry around.
That's why I keep using the app. But I think, can you share us some of your tools that a home health therapist or mobile therapist like me can use day to day, and also inform my patient? And what will be the innovators or innovations that you did that the typical therapist can use in their clinic?
Sure. So on the home health side, the book is a great start. So if you have a lot of ideas and options to bring into the house, you're already starting off ahead of the game. So the balance book is great at that. There's a booklet that I created called 10-Minute Balance, and that's really focused on balance training at home. And that program's designed for people to continue with balance training after they're finished with therapy. But it's a great tool to use during therapy to get them coached up and ready to carry on after you discharge and call it your final visit. Really, with the 10-minute balance, it's geared on two pieces of equipment go along well with it. So you can have foam, and there's different places you can get foam. You can get the AirX foam. Furniture stores will sell blocks of foam as well, or you could use pillows. Pillows tend to bottom out real easily. They don't have the density that you need. But the furniture stores, you could get foam pretty inexpensively there, and it's a higher density foam, but it's just not as easy to clean. So we can't use it like the AirX foam in the clinic, but it's great for home use. And then I'd use a tee. So it's just PVC pipe that's teed off. But you can do
Yeah.
a lot of stepping drills over the tee, and I
Yes.
use colors on the tee as well to direct stepping movements if you're doing a crossover step or stepping forward or stepping back.
Yes.
Um, the patient doesn't have to get that tee. They can make a tee out of PVC pipe at Home Depot, or they could just use a broomstick on the floor and kind of get the same effect that way. But that's a great starting point for home health. It'll give you a foundation as well as a progression from maybe they start here, and then after you work with them for 6-8 weeks, you're leaving them at a higher point. But then it'll also give them the tools to continue with that once they're finished with therapy. So home health wise, that's really, there's some other smaller things like the balance dots. They're circular and they're colored, and they go along good with Clock Yourself. But you can do a variety of stepping drills with those, or touching and tapping drills. I think the Blaze Pods work really well for a home setting too. It gives you a little bit more to have to carry around. But then when you get into a building that you're going to bring patients into, of course, we talked about the balance trainer. The ADL leg press is something that gets used a bunch, and we've got a lot of positive feedback on it, but that's mostly for somebody that's having a hard time standing up. So they can wheel that wheelchair right up to it, it connects on, and they can just start really training that extension pushing movement in their legs with some higher weights. So I look at the leg press that will help to get them standing up, and then the balance trainer helps to keep them standing once they're up. So that'll work on their balance at
That's
that point.
nice. Mm-hmm.
There's other smaller products like the quadrant hurdle. If you watch some of the videos, you'll see, I'll pull in, and you'll see different, if it's red, green, blue, and yellow, it's probably something that we created here at ADL, because those primary colors are easy to access in different things. But there's not a lot of therapy equipment right now that's using that kind of thing. So that's usually our stuff if it's colored up a little bit.
Nice.
And I think that's it. I don't want to talk, I like the part on the exercise and the creative side of it. I like sharing the exercises. I like seeing how new ways of using things helps patients. And, that's really the piece of it that Balance Pro. So if you don't want to spend a dime on anything, just go and join Balance Pros, and you'll be able to get a lot of content there. And it'll be a good starting point to if you're interested in balance, you'll be able to learn more there and just kind of see where it takes you.
Yeah, and also I think you have something like I'm not familiar with the one that for the leg press, but you have something like a rocker bottom, I think something for the ankle. So that's also a little bit
Yeah. So
portable.
this, it's the rumble board is like just a novel take on a typical tilt board. The problem with most tilt boards is they're designed for fitness. Our patients are having a hard time standing on flat ground sometimes. Putting them on one of those domed tilt boards is just way too much for them, or a BOSU might be way too much for them. So that was a little less aggressive of a slope, and it has some notching underneath, so you get a little bit of a clunking or a little bit of haptic feedback from that. The hip stick is just a narrow, almost like a 2x4, where you stand on it and the toes and heels hang off, but that mutes the ankle strategy, so you have to shift up to a hip, arms, and hands kind of strategy. Trying to think, as we talk, you bring out different things, you spur different thoughts, and
Yes, yes,
I'm
because
happy to
you
talk
have a
about any
lot.
of them.
Yeah, that's really good. You have a lot of innovation, and I agree in your there's a video and then you highlight each page of the book so that they can learn and everything. So that's easy to follow. So at least as a mobile therapist, what will be your advice, Shane, as the expert, movement expert, for these clinicians that are just beginning? So especially as physical therapist, what is your most favorite exercise? You have a lot, of course. That's why what
That's
is
like
your
picking your
main
favorite kid. It's hard to pick.
Yes,
It's
because we need to be outside the box, right? And it depends on the client itself.
yeah,
That's how
exactly.
we, yeah. But
I,
what you can advise to them, how to challenge themselves, treating these clients having balance and falls issues.
sure. Um, it, so a lot of it is sequential. So you'll start with your evaluation and your assessment, and that's going to let you know for that particular individual where you want to start. In a general sense, with balance really begins when you let go of everything around you. So you're just standing you're not touching a countertop, you're not touching a chair, you've turned loose of everything. So that's the starting point. So watch how that patient looks in that condition. Are they stable there? Are they in high guard, which will tell you that they're not confident at that point? Can they feel their feet? Do they have sensation in their feet so they know when they're at that midpoint in the foot and they're not heavy in the heels and the toes are always lifting up because they're at risk for tipping over backwards? So you can work on a lot just in that initial learning to let go standing phase of regaining and retraining balance. From there, don't jump instantly to unstable surfaces. Don't go from, oh, I'm letting go now, let me put you on a block of foam. You want to start with changes in either stance, their foot position. So you can bring the feet a little closer together. You could do a stagger stance. And then from different stances, add in some movements like weight shifting from one foot and back to the other. Forward and back weight shifting, side to side weight shifting, rotational weight shifts are a great foundation for somebody that's just learning to turn loose of everything. And they're also building blocks for later movements. We got a weight shift to the side before we can lift up a foot. So it's good to practice that weight shifting side to side rather than just skip all that and go straight to stepping exercises. And then watch as you're giving these patients different things to do, watch what their responses are. So you're looking for signs of unsteadiness. You're looking for, do I see any ankle strategies or hip strategies or stepping strategies? And you want some of that in an exercise, but you don't want it all the time in an exercise. So a nice midpoint would be half and half. If somebody can stay steady half the time, you're at a good point. If they're steady the whole time, then you probably need to turn that up a little bit too. And so we teach that concept of 20-20, just kind of like vision 20-20. You want somebody to be unsteady 20% of the time. but you want them to be steady at least 20% of the time. So that leaves 60% in between those two extremes that you can kind of, based on that patient's personality, if they're more fearful, you're going to stay on the more conservative side. If they're not as fearful, then you'll be on the more aggressive side. And then always progress. That's the fun part about balance, is you can progress somebody the same treatment from what I consider to be a low level balance to a moderate level of difficulty of balance. So you can see just tremendous quick improvements with somebody. But don't skip that assessment part. If somebody's dizzy and they're having vestibular things going on, you got to take care of all that first before you can get to the training piece that we're talking about here. So that's why you don't want to skip the eval and the assessment and just talk all about exercises, because it's where the two fit together that you really end up with some good outcomes.
Exactly. So assessment, because that's the root of everything. So you keep treating and treating, strengthening and balance, but vestibular is the problem. So we need to focus on that. And then vision and also weakness. So we know that balance has many factors. So that's really amazing. We learned a lot, just lots of techniques, lots of devices and tools, especially from Shane. So Shane, how can we connect with you? So what are your how can we follow you? So let us know the Balance Pros as your Facebook group, but how about the ADLs, things like that?
Yeah, the website is ADL Balance, adlbalance.com. So my email is Shane, SHANE, at adlbalance.com. Facebook group is Balance Pros, and just search that and just ask to join. That's probably the easiest, most direct way is going to be just shoot me an email. Happy to hear from anybody. Love this area. I like what you're doing. You're talking to some great people. Sharing information is how we all sharpen the saw. I listen to different folks, and just on the way to and from work, the kind of podcasts and interviews and things have taken the place of listening to music a lot of the days as I go back and forth. There's one thing I skipped over, last nugget on home health. If somebody's standing, just have them read a book while they're standing. Once their vision is trained on something else besides their environment around them, a book, a deck of cards, you'd be amazed at all the different exercises you can do with just simple things like that. So I'll leave that, and I won't add any more exercises to this. If you want any more, go to Balance Pros. But It's just, that's the kind of, you get to talking, and then the ideas just start coming out. So
That's
I appreciate
true.
you having me, Jenny. Thank you.
You're
Thanks for
welcome,
coming to the
Shane.
US and letting us have your talents over here. Even if you are in Delaware, when you get a chance, just relocate to Texas.
Yeah, I enjoy Texas. The weather is we are cold right now in Delaware, and I appreciate you, Shane. Thank you so much for your kind words. And then we would like to always share our clients, especially our clinicians, the different techniques of our expert clinicians, therapists like you. That way we can keep learning, as you've said, go outside the box, improve your toolbox. Every time you go to a different patient, it's not typical like quad setting, do some things like that, ankle pumping. So we need to improve those with resistance, weight shifting. Then we have now some tools to improve for balance. We have a lot. That's why we tried our best to interview so that we learn something from the experts. So thank you so much, Shane. We appreciate you. So guys, if you want to connect, we want to learn more. So where's the book can be checked? Is it available in Amazon or in the website?
It's at the website. Yeah,
Yeah.
ADL Balance, you'll see everything on there. So the
Yes,
book
yes.
included.
So he gave us different tools. I'm a home health mobile therapist, so I can see it's easy to get something in different home. But if you have a clinic, he has bigger stuff that you might be in interest of. So thank you so much, Shane, and thank you guys for listening. It's another, thank God, it's Thursday for Advanced and Full Support Group. If you have any questions, connect with us. Balance Pros for Shane and also ADL Balance website. Thank you guys. Thank you, Shane, and have a great day.
Thank
All
you.
right.